Diabetes occurs in several configurations. Type 1 and Type 2 are the most prevalent. Although all types of diabetes are defined by the body's inability to maintain ideal glycemic levels, they may differ in their causes, procedures, and complexities. It is hypothesized that diabetes is a serious chronic disease that is on the rise in Canada. It has posed a challenge not only to those living with the disease, but also to their families, communities, and the Canadian healthcare system. Conceptual framework useful for studying the multiple patterns of diabetes are presented in a wide variety of secondary resources. This chart shows that the prevalence of diabetes increased in every age group over time. Between 1998 and 2008, the greatest relative increases in prevalence were seen in the 35 to 39 and the 40 to 44 year age groups, where the proportions doubled. Next major area of study was how the prevalence of diabetes varies across Canada. In 2008 to 2009, after accounting for the differences in age distribution among the provinces and territories, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia and Ontario had the highest prevalence of diagnosed diabetes, while Nunavut, Alberta, and Quebec ranked the lowest. Now, when I saw this data, I particularly wanted to know the reasoning behind the large difference between Quebec's and Newfoundland and Labrador's prevalence rates. Newfoundland and Labrador's population has a far greater risk for diabetes among the other provinces. Newfoundland and Labrador has the oldest population among the Canadian provinces, the highest rates for obesity in Canada, the highest pre-diabetic rate, and close to lowest family income. Quebec has the second lowest rate for obesity. In fact, it has the lowest rate of childhood obesity in Canada. These circumstances, along with its comprehensive system on controlling childhood obesity, may contribute to its far lower diabetes prevalence and prevalence decrease over the years. Funds for diabetes education has increased substantially in the major cities and rural areas of Quebec. The next area of study shows the yearly per capita healthcare costs of diabetes cases diagnosed in Saskatchewan compared to the per capita costs of those without diabetes. The graph shows a strong linear correlation as the change in one variable tends to correspond with a proportional change in another variable. The final area of study I'll be sharing with you today is about the prevalence of several type 2 diabetes risk factors as compared to one's social class. These factors include physical inactivity, inadequate consumption of vegetables and fruit, and daily smoking were the most common amongst Canadians of the lowest income range compared to those of the highest income range. Unfortunately, this data is not current, but it can be hypothesized that these risks have increased over time. You may be asking yourself, how does being diabetic relate to social justice? I had a similar quandary when I saw this required aspect on the project. By thinking outside the box, I was able to find two relevant social justice issues that relate to the burden of diabetes. The first one is the relevance to mental health. Depression is more common in people with diabetes compared to the overall population. Symptoms of depression affect 30% of people with diabetes, while 10% of them undergo major depression. On the other hand, adolescent females and young women with type 1 diabetes have twice the risk of developing eating disorders than their peers without diabetes. This may be due to the weight changes that occur with insulin therapy and the extra attention people with diabetes must pay to what they eat. While reading through secondary research on the topic, it was clear that there was a lack of healthcare in Aboriginal communities and that those from Aboriginal descent have a higher risk of diabetes. See the correlation? In Canada and globally, prejudice towards the Indigenous communities are still present, in the form of negative stereotypes and stigmatization. In conclusion, this report allowed me to highlight some positive advances such as a moderately stable incidence rate over the last decade, improved longevity of those with diabetes. However, it also exhibits a significant increase in the number of people living with diabetes and its associated impact on the healthcare system. The report also allowed me to dig deeper into the major effect of obesity in the development of diabetes in younger adults.